Greetings to all of my family, friends, and fellow church members. Welcome once again to my church, to my home office, and my newly renovated or refurbished home office. It was looking pretty bad, and it was on my to-do list for the last couple of years, I think. So I finally tidied it up, cleaned up things, reorganized, painted the walls, and hung up all my favorite photos on my. Maybe I should show you my wall of fame over here. Just over here for a minute. Let me show it to you. So here I have a picture of my beautiful mom and dad. War years, I think. My mom was probably, I don't know, maybe 16, 17, 18 years of age at that time. And a good looking couple. Miss them very much, love them. And then one of my favorite pictures, the Fab Four. There they are, John, Paul, George, and Ringo. Not in that particular order. Love this picture. Not so much because of the picture itself, but because of who gave it to me. An old friend of mine decades ago, and because of he gave it to me, it makes this very special. And then, last but not least, most important family photo of all. Just love it. Here it is. Lori and I and the kids. Poor Mrs. Little looks just a little frazzled there. But anyway, the Fab Five. Anyway, there you have it. My wall of fame, my favorite pictures or photographs that warm my heart. There they are. Anyway, I just thought I'd show you those because I dedicate these little devotionals to my family, friends, and fellow church members. I thought it would be okay to give you a snapshot into the most important people in my life. Isn't that what people do when you meet somebody on a plane, or you're connecting with somebody at some social occasion, and you start to develop a bit of a relationship? You pull out your wallet and pull out a favorite Polaroid of your. This is my wife. This is my kids here. Yeah, and that's what people do when we're attempting to make connections, right? We give people a peek into our lives. But, and I think this is important, you never do that with people when you're on the fly. It's only when you've stopped, when you have time, in those moments between appointments, when you're at rest. It's in those times that we begin making lasting connections, right? One of the most fascinating phrases that is becoming, if it is not already, a significant part of our vocabulary as a result of COVID-19 is the phrase, the new normal. I found an article in the New York Times recently. Seems like I'm always in the New York Times over the last little while. But anyway, the article was entitled, "What Will Our New Normal Feel Like? Hints Are Beginning to Emerge." It's by Max Fisher, a New York-based international reporter and columnist. Anyway, it's a good read. You should check it out. But at one point, Fisher reflects on what some see emerging as we wrestle with this pandemic. The phrase that's used is pro-social behavior. Here's the quote, New York Times. "The greatest psychological shift amid widespread crisis may be toward what is termed pro-social behavior. Checking in on neighbors, caring for the needy, cooking for friends. As we are once again besieged by nature and isolated into small communities, our survival instincts are re-emerging. During the SARS epidemic, according to Dr. Sim Kang, a psychiatrist at Singapore's Institute of Mental Health, people looked out for one another in ways they might not have done before. They are doing so again now, even in Singapore, a city known for capitalist striving and competition. These changes in thinking," he added, "can reflect not just in-the-moment altruism, but deeper emotional growth that can outlast the crisis. All the different ways that people create solidarity in a crisis get activated." Now, the author goes on to say in this article, similar behaviors are forming in New York, where, as in other stricken cities, neighborhoods are reorganizing around local support groups as people instinctively shift towards thinking in terms of their immediate community. Pro-social behavior. Well, folks, as a clergy person who has spent his entire life striving to build community, to build spiritual and altruistic connections. I also sense that this pro-social behavior is becoming large in the minds and hearts, the consciousness of those I minister to on a daily basis. It's medicine for COVID-19. Let's be honest here, folks. There's more to this pandemic than the fear of high fever, shortness of breath, and the imminent threat of the loss of life. I mean, those are the most significant threats of COVID-19, to be sure. But there's also the other side effects that we don't often talk about as much. Isolation, loneliness, a sense of disconnection, being left behind and forgotten. Who knows how long this thing will go on, but despite all the pain and perplexity and loss, there is, I believe, the emergence of a new reality, a new normal. From the midst of our isolation, there is a renewed yearning and a new commitment to establishing community. The truth is that this desire for true community is as old as life itself. Family, friends, fellow church members. It's what made Jesus' life and ministry so unforgettable. It's what makes the gospel stories of Jesus so profound. The Creator God of eternity laid aside his royal robes and came from heaven to this broken world in search of broken people who were, in their quiet desperation and often self-destructive despair, also desperately yearning for community, for human touch. To borrow a phrase from one of the greatest hymns of my generation, laying low, seeking out the poorer quarters where the ragged people go. Remember that? It's an echo of Jesus' life and ministry. He wasn't afraid to get his hands dirty. Jesus came seeking the lost, the marginalized, the poor, the sick, the wounded. And what's so stunning is that it was this very quality that made Jesus so popular, which also caused some to despise him. Yes, to even yearn, to plot for his death. And Jesus knew that was coming. He knew a man's heart, the good, the bad, the ugly. So he said to the religious bigots of ancient Israel, and this is in the Gospel of Luke chapter 7, the Son of Man, Jesus said, came eating and drinking, and you say, here's a glutton and a drunkard, a friend of tax collectors and sinners. But wisdom, Jesus said, is proved right by all her children. And immediately following this verse is the story of the prostitute who anointed Jesus' feet with costly oil, wiping the excess away with her hair, all the while weeping tears of gratitude for his incredible, liberating love, for connecting with her and caring for her in the hour of her greatest need. So, yes, the new normal. Now, my friends, I'm no prophet. I do not claim to know the future, but I do pray that as a result of this crisis, a new normal would emerge, a new normal of forgiveness and reconciliation, a new normal where we as a society would regain our compassion for the hurting, the lonely, the forsaken, the aged. A new normal where people would learn to press together in ways long forgotten to create safe spaces of healing and hope. Yes, the new normal. Let it be, my friends, that we learn to love one another. Well, stay safe, stay positive, and stay in God's warm embrace. May God bless you.